Welcome back to Arc Tutorials. This is CSS full tutorial series for absolute beginners. When designing pixel perfect websites, there are a couple of important CSS properties that needs to be considered. One of such property is margin. CSS margins are extremely critical, especially when you are looking for a pixel perfect layouts and design. We'll learn all about it. We'll learn about the different types of margin properties that are available, and I'm going to do some hands-on to give you a better idea and understanding of CSS margins. This is part 10 of the series. If you have missed out on the first 9 parts, kindly go through them in order to have continuity and to master CSS with me. Today we are learning about CSS margins. Alright, before I talk about margins, I want you to take a look at this picture and keep this picture in mind. Alright, so margin is nothing but the space between the elements. Okay, how much space do you want to have around elements is called margin. Let me again repeat it. Margin means the space that you want around the elements. That means, in other words, you can say how far that element should be from other elements is called margin. There are four main properties for margin: margin left, margin right, margin hyphen top, margin hyphen bottom. So each of this will tell from which direction you need to leave the margin. So when you say margin left, it will leave the space from margin left side. If you say margin right, it will leave the space from the right side. Top again means from the top, and bottom means from the bottom. Okay, so that's the understanding we have. Now I'm going to show you the variations with hands-on coding. Let's get started. Alright, so far we have a HTML page we are doing in this series. So far it's very basic. Don't worry about it. We'll polish it as we move along in the series. For today's example, I'm going to create two sections and I'm going to give them a name. I'll say margin example. Close this section. And in this I'm just going to have a simple heading. Let's say margin example section number 1. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this. Let's save this first and see the output. So it looks like this. We have simple h1 heading, margin example section 1. Now copy this again and paste it here. And I'm going to call it margin example 2, and same thing with the class name. So see, they both are below each other because they are block elements. Section is a block element. Alright, so now let's learn margin. So I'm going to apply that and I'm going to say dot margin example, and we also have one more class which is dot margin example 2. Alright, okay, perfect. So for the example 2, that is this section, what I'm going to use is margin hyphen top and say 30 pixel. So I'm saying from the top leave 30 pixels at the top side. Now you see it has moved down. I'm going to hide this number so you can see better. So now you see the gap between these two. That's because this is the margin. Okay, but if you put a border, see the border is right here itself because this is the space it has left. This is the margin top. Okay, so I'm going to remove it here again. Now you see it moves back. There is no margin. For the first section, I'm putting margin hyphen bottom. That means for the first section, which is section 1, leave 300 pixel in the bottom. So see, this is the bottom margin for the first section. So that's how margins work. How much space you want to leave. Now I'm saying for the second section, margin left should be 200 pixel. So it will move from the left side 200 pixel. Similarly, I can also say margin hyphen right. So now it has, this is 200 pixel, this is 200 pixel. I can also add margin bottom. 300 pixel. Extremely important concept, especially when designing layout. How this is now margin bottom, margin left, margin right. Similarly, if you don't want margin here, you can add margin top anywhere. So these are the four properties that are there: margin top, margin bottom, margin left, and margin right. These are the four properties of margin which are used to position, to move the elements, how away, how much space you want between the elements is called as margin. Okay, very important concept, especially when you're designing layouts. The next three episodes that I'll cover: margin, padding, box model, all of those are extremely important concepts from layout, from design perspective. So make sure that you get your understanding correct on margins. Don't get confused with padding, because that's what I'm going to cover in the next episode. I'll show you the difference between margin and padding. Both are extremely crucial from a layout, from a design perspective. I hope it's clear. Do give it a try. Soon we'll start building a layout and the live project. So all these concepts will put together in one place. But for now, this is your runway where you're learning about the concepts. Alright. That being said, if you have any questions, any doubts, write to me in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you for joining in this episode. I will continue this series and our learning. In the next episode, we'll learn padding. Thank you.